You're listening to the Getting Smart podcast. I'm Mason Pasha. For returning listeners or those who are watching the video version of this, it's clear that I love the arts. My background is guitars and a piano and a painting. My first dream career was a singer-songwriter. My first job was helping teach an art camp. My entrance into education was trying to build an arts integration program to reframe standards. And my first board position was with the Kansas City Young Audiences Group, which is a teaching artist organization. So it's been a part of every decision that I've made my whole life. And I think this is something that I realized early, that arts, it becomes a lens with which you see and navigate the world. It is so much more than a thing you have to practice or a thing that you do for like this one little dose of culture. It's a really a way of navigating and continuing. And yet year after year, organizations have to fight to keep them funded and to keep them prioritized and respected. So for those reasons, I'm really excited to talk to my guest today, Dr. Lucy Chen, VP of Advocacy and Community Engagement at the Cathedral Arts Project, which is a Florida-based nonprofit providing arts education and therapeutic programs to students across traditional, charter, and homeschool settings. Lucy, thanks for being here with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. So this is sort of me projecting, but I'm curious, when did arts for you feel like something that you chose to do rather than something that you just had to do, like someone made you do it?
That's a great start. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background.
I
So, I'm
love that.
trained as a pianist, and I started to play the piano when I was 2 years and 10 months old. And normally, when I say this, people, like everyone in the audience, will go, "Oh, wow." Well, this could be further from a protege story. The reality of what happened was I was playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and I forgot the ending to the song.
Yeah.
All I could remember is my dad wildly gesturing me, "Get off the stage!" to save me from embarrassment. So that was the start of my journey.
Incredible.
And but it wasn't until much later in life that I had a chance to study with some very incredible professors
Mhm.
that gave me the confidence and the joy and the pleasure in practicing. And I remembered one of my favorite professors. His name is Anthony de Bonaventura,
Hmm.
and he's a world-renowned pianist. And when he asked me, "Lucy, how many hours do you practice?" And as a musician, you know your answers has to be up there.
Yeah.
But he was also busy teaching as a side job. And I said, "Well, professor, I only got 3 or 4 hours that day because I was teaching kids." Then his eyes lit up and he said, "Lucy, that is the most important job in this world." So
Hmm.
that that's part of my life. And I will always remember him sharing that comment with me.
Wow. Yeah, that is very, very powerful. To the younger you on the stage, I've always thought that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star resolved a little too neatly at the end. So I think it's very nice that you improvisationally took it in new, more space-like directions. We're not really sure what's out there.
Yes, that's a great point. I don't remember how I eventually ended, but the only thing I remember was my dad telling me to get off the stage.
Yeah. Oh, dads.
Uh,
I saw in your bio one more just kind of quick icebreakery question, but you like to hike. I love hiking. I'm up in Seattle. But what for you do hiking and music have in common?
You are the first person that asked me that question, and it's perhaps one of the best questions that anyone could. I think they're very similar
Hmm.
because there's a lot of research, as you know, that talks about concentration, flow, and just focus and setting little milestones. When we hike, I wish I could hike a 20 miler one day. That can't be the reality because you actually have to train for it, right? You
Yep.
have to build up stamina. You have to start from mile 1 to 3 miles, 5 miles. It's the same thing with the arts and with music. You have to set little milestones in
Hmm.
order to achieve your next one. So I think there are a lot of commonalities between the two. And the feeling, the gratification at the end when you actually got to the summit, yes, that feeling is absolutely perfection.
I definitely agree. I feel like I feel this both when I'm playing music, listening to music, and hiking. And I think it has to do with flow, but it's this really dynamic sense of time Like a moment feels ever widening, or it can feel like it's gone in a blink. And I think that ability to kind of exist in both of those spaces is just a huge gift to experience as a person.
Yes, and one of the perfect performance, right, is when you have absolute control. And sometimes as a classical musician, the stage sounds different, the sound, your technique. But when you are in a state where everything felt perfect, that's incredible. It
Hmm.
truly is incredible.
Yeah. Well, on a hike, I will say that it rarely feels perfect. I'm usually tired and my feet hurt, but it is also a lovely time. So I okay, so I wanna start with maybe the question that I kind of ended with on my intro, because I think it's so interesting and I just don't know the answer, but why are arts programs so under prioritized in typical ed reform policy and funding conversations? Like what you've been in this space for a while. What have you seen and learned?
So, according to Arts Education Partnership, they it's known that about of all the states, only 32 consider arts as a core subject. So, again, the saying is what gets tested is the one that really gets
Right.
measured and prioritized. So that is one factor, whether the arts is considered a core subject or not. And because there's also class sizes, right? Wh- Imagine going into a classroom as a teacher and you have 60 kids in a room who's playing different instruments. Really hard to structure a class around that for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's literally asking the teacher to accomplish the impossible. So understanding all of that, and another item is really seeing the impact on the arts. I don't think everybody understands it's beyond just a letter grade oftentimes, the impact you see with kids and that aha moment,
Hmm.
that's what transformed later in life.
Yeah, that aha moment is so important. I can hear the recorders now of walking into a room of 60 students playing instruments together. I think we'll cut this. Melissa, I think you're good. It's just a Wi-Fi thing, but we're capturing everything. So I I love that. I think that really gets into something that we're spending a lot of time with in the ed reform space, which is this competency-based learning, or this shift away from the letter grade and the standards and time-bound measurements to being able to demonstrate something or being able to express or articulate that you are able to do something. I Something that is such a kind of a catch 22 of the arts is like you have this moment where a student feels really good about themselves and then you just like can't ever really articulate that again. It's sort of like this emergent sort of one-time thing, and I think something your work that does is really interesting, both through the organizations that you're supporting and kind of help starting, is really focuses on the student outcomes and engagement metrics. So talk about why that's such an important entry point into sort of spreading the good word of music and arts and education.
Right. We always wonder, we all always get one-time stories from students, right? The feeling of joy. But what is the true impact and what is the measurement across the board? So what we do is at CAB, we actually administer student surveys
Hmm.
and we capture and we look at student assessment grades as well. So here is the data we tracked for the past 10 years. 97% of the students enrolled in CAP programs were promoted to the next grade level. And what
Hmm.
is really unique, again, beyond the letter grade, is we see how students communicate with peers and parents. And 84% of the parents say, we see our students communicate better. And you can see them enjoying what they do at home. So if they are able to take what they learn in the classroom and replicate that at home, that is a true win. And so we know statistics, right? In America, 90% of Americans want arts education in their school. Only 66% of students truly consistently participate in that.
Hmm.
So there's already a gap. And for some schools, like charter schools, high schools, only 33% of charter school high schoolers get to have it. So it's really important to see the long-term impact of arts education and what it can do for students.
Yeah, I mean, we this is an interesting time to be having this conversation. Like the federal picture for arts support is changing rapidly. I guess just to help our listeners and just understand the scope of what we're talking about. Like when you're saying arts education, is this like a set of classes that people typically understand? Is this sort of like the STEAM, more integrated arts into the classroom? How when you say arts education, I guess give me a little bit of a definition in your brain.
There's of course, we think about the traditional arts education, we think
Right.
about the music class, the theater class, the dance class, but there is also arts integration that you mentioned, which is pairing an academic subject with an arts subject. And for those who may not be very familiar with this concept, would think, wait, what is this about? So let me give you a really simple example and just think about this. As for second graders, we want to teach math. And math sometimes can be very fun,
Hmm.
but most of the time, when you're doing addition and subtraction, the fun disappears within maybe 10 minutes of the class. But what we did was we did a program that is engineering, math, and understanding the physics of sound. And you ask, how does that happen? Students were designing boomwhacker orchestras. So it's just these light tubes, clear light tubes, and then we learned teach students about measurement, the length, the distance. We also brought in a scientist to teach the physics of sound. We did a Chladni plate where with different frequencies, it has
Mm,
different shapes. So students in second grade got a chance to visualize what this is about. And it works because after the 10-week program, we saw that students' testing grades improved by at least 15 points compared to students who did not have arts integration.
interesting.
So what is so fun about it? It's that it engages students.
Yeah.
It's allowing students to learn with multiple entry points, and it's highly effective. We are seeing this in our charter schools. We use this pairing with language arts, with civics and theater, and we are seeing 20-point increase compared to schools that do not have this program.
Mm,
So it's it's a very effective way in delivering arts education. So when you ask me about what I consider arts, you have your traditional after school arts programs, you
yep.
have your choirs, but you also have your arts integration.
Very cool. I mean, I think that project is such a rich demonstration of the real world applicability of arts as well. I think that there's a show not tell approach to arts that always grounds it in the real world. And I think it's so interesting that in this moment where again, we have this funding picture that is really supportive of work-based learning and is really supportive of internships and getting students experiences in community, that arts is not an immediate contender for like a catalyst for that work. So I really appreciate that demonstration and with especially younger kids, like immediately connecting math, which like so many people, the famous math question is just like, why are we learning this? Like, what when am I ever going to use calculating slope? And then you're like, "Oh, well, let's look at waveforms and talk about the sound waves of music." That's
Yes.
that's a really great way to ground it in something real and then have lasting learning implications as a result of that.
We also use the same strategy for our middle schoolers.
Hmm.
And I remember what the teacher told me. She said, we paired graphic design, visual arts with computer science. And after one school year, the teacher came back and said, I'm teaching my students to not just be consumers of the computer games or just consumers of video games.
Yeah,
They're actually now learning to do something
totally.
with technology, and it opens doors to allow them to see a world that's a little broader than what they see every day.
It's amazing and it's something we get rid of the older students get like all the time is this we've basically everyone's mad that we've created a culture of consumers and not producers in terms of just like everybody's kind of extracting and not really contributing. That's sort of our lens on it. But in when you're a fourth grader, like oftentimes you're told to write a story. Like along with doing a book report, you have to write a story or something. And then by the time you get into eighth, ninth grade, like creative writing is kind of out the window. You're just reading texts and analyzing them, which is a useful skill. But like if you get rid of this other side, then there's not this continuous nudge to contribute back into your classroom, to your community. And that's like such a critical part of what it means to become a person, is like figuring out how you can contribute to any environment. It doesn't even have to be art. It's just like the art is it is a weight to actually make you sort of go the next step and actually make something or contribute something. So,
Yes. And a lot of our programs is focused on elementary school grades because they are the foundational years. If a student cannot read by third grade, that presents a huge issue later on in life. So we also go into schools where we have, instead of just writing essays, we ask students, well, turn this into a script.
hmm,
Immediately, the class bursts with joy because it's also a different type of writing. They can have different career paths afterwards. And so learning these little tidbits for our younger students, it's opening doors to for a different career path that again, they would probably have not imagined otherwise.
amazing. So, like, give me an idea of the scope of what what CAP does. You're in Florida? Are you pretty much across the whole state? Are you in like a couple pockets here and there? What is your, I guess, saturation in the state?
So we are mainly in Northeast Florida.
Okay,
We are based in Duval County, but we do serve our neighboring counties. And for those of you who may not be very familiar with Jacksonville, Florida, it is the largest city by landmass. So we do have a pretty wide band in terms of programs. We have daytime programs that, again, is similar to the arts integration model that we spoke about. We have after school programming, and we also have arts as a therapeutic service
great.
for a lot of young adults as well. We are in traditional public schools, charter schools, and homeschool. So we meet students where they are, and we want to ensure, and we do everything that we can to ensure that every student have access to high quality arts education.
Hmm. Do you? I know you're biased because you are with CAP, but like, is this something that is super unique to Northeast Florida, or is this kind of organization all across the country, all across Florida? Like, are there these intermediary arts orgs that are doing arts integration work, or would you say that we need a lot more of them? Like, I guess give me a health assessment of the landscape of these orgs.
So we do we this past year alone, we have served over 4,000 students. So we are one of the larger art organizations here, reaching the numbers of students that
Amazing.
we reach. And so we also partner, we are a partner with the Kennedy Center as one of the Any Given Child sites. We are the 14th in the nation in doing that. And honestly, our work have been recognized nationally through the National Endowment of the Arts, Americans for the Arts, and even different school districts have called us and asked, hey, what is your secret sauce? Share a little more about what you all do. So
Hmm.
we are very proud of the efforts and also our national recognition for the outcomes that we are able to achieve.
Got it. So, given that Kennedy Center agreement and you being, you said the 14th, 12th,
Yes.
14th, like there are other organizations across the country that are trying to do a similar kind of work, but
Mhm.
y'all are great. Okay, cool. I'm I'm curious about, again, this is me projecting, but the arts have famously complicated and bizarre pathways to careers and whatever comes after school. And I think they're usually, both because of the power of the arts and because of the ways our education systems are currently structured, they're usually one of the like highest impact learning experiences that a young person has. Like it's a place where they're like, I love doing this and I got to explore and this is so fun or whatever. So as a result of that, they have this powerful experience and they're like, I want to be an artist when I grow up. I just want to like paint. I want to be a musician. I want to do whatever. However, those pathways are increasingly challenging. They're a little bit fraught. It's kind of like every young person you meet says they want to be an influencer right now, and you're like, cool. Like that, not sure that that's like an abundant job, but go for it. So I guess how, and forgive me if this sort of gets out of the scope of what you all do, but like how do you personally or as an organization respond to that kind of interest from a young person, and like how do you make that a an abundance problem rather than a scarcity problem, to where concert pianists, that's a tough road and like a really impressive place to land, but you are not guaranteed to land there, and you're also doing this amazing thing for an arts org at the same time, so that's not like that wasn't what you would have guessed when you were on the stage playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So like I don't know, just messy question, but just like help me make sense of guidance, advice, where you stand on that.
No, it's a very practical question. So going back to the boomwhacker class,
Yeah.
that was think about a second grader. You mentioned students wanted to be an influencer.
Yeah.
When we walked into the classroom, we asked, "What do you want to be in the future?" Literally 60% of the kids said, "I wanted to be an influencer." And they were only in second grade.
In
Imagine that. But when
unreal.
we were able to introduce different career pathways, we brought in a scientist. By the end of the class, the 60% of students who wanted to be an influencer decided 50% wanted to be a scientist when they
Yeah.
grew up. So it really is about exposure. So
Yeah.
that is one way we expose students to different career paths, right? At CAP, we also have students that worked with us, started with us since third grade,
Hmm.
and they performed at Carnegie Hall. That is a tremendous, tremendous result from what we see from our students. But do we expect every student to perform at Carnegie Hall? No, I don't think that is the ultimate outcome. It's the life lessons that they learn throughout, which is most important. And in terms of career path, we do have students who want to major in music. We also have other students who have been with us since third grade, went to a arts magnet school, but is now interning at a engineering firm and
Hmm.
also at banks, and they wanted to have a feel in finance. And for those who would like to be a musician, I think someone gave me a very good career advice when I was in college. And he said, "Lucy, be a jack of all trades." Because what we all have in common is we have to be an entrepreneur in some aspects.
Absolutely.
We have to learn. I remember building my own website. I remember learning how to give a public speech. I remember learning how to do sound checks. And they are things that actually sometimes they might not be taught in school. You know this,
I absolutely. Yeah.
right? With all the classes, we learn music theory, but on top of all of the fundamentals that we learn in music, I think there is an element of life and entrepreneurship and running a business that every young musician or aspiring artist should have is just be a jack of all trades and
Totally.
say yes to everything.
I could not agree more. I think that's been the soapbox of mine and our organizations for a long time, is that like if you are teaching this kind of if you are teaching pathways in general, all of them need to be imbued with entrepreneurship, because like both that is sort of the job of the future. We're still sort of dealing with the gig economy and what that means. And at
Mhm.
the same time, like y- you just do have to say yes to so many things that you're not expecting, and then suddenly you get a little bit of a little luck or right place, right time, or something happens because you've said yes all the right times and kept trying. Yeah, my mom's a painter and professionally, and it's always been her career path has always been super fascinating to me. And we're actually seeing an organization called Advanced CTE, who does career cluster frameworks for schools and ONET and a bunch of other kind of places. Their most recent version of the career sectors has entrepreneurship as something that you have to teach in every single one of them. And one of them, of course, is like arts, entertainment. So I think I'm hoping that conversation starts to happen, and that especially collegiate level classes for arts start to make that like a mandated requirement. It's not just understanding the finances of like the publishing industry, which I had to learn. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like this is something that I don't need to know. No one's going to make sheet music of my music. That is not going to happen. But like we need to be doing entrepreneurial work instead of some of these other more antiquated modes of business learning.
And John Perry was a very famous pianist. He recently passed away.
Mm.
He passed away in his 90s. But I remember having a class from him, and he said, "You know what I did, Lucy, when I was, like, in high school? I played every genre
Yep.
possible
Oh,
of music."
totally.
And that is the key. Just learn everything that comes your way.
It's so important and, like okay, this is a stretch, so bear with me, but being a performer in music in a professional capacity is very similar to being like an athlete. It is very rote practice. It is anatomical. It is all these things. And I was listening to something the other day about why there's so many more injuries in sports right now at professional sports. There's just like all of these injuries all the time. And one of the leading theories is because people specialize at the age of like 6 and they stop cross training. So whereas before you would maybe have a basketball player who plays baseball in one season and football and soccer, like it gets to a place where you're just doing basketball all the time. And
Mhm.
then what that does over time is it just really grinds down these muscles. And I think what you just said is a similar example of like if you have to play different styles of music both to keep an open mind, but also just to like purely build muscle, build mechanisms differently. Like your fundamentals are so much better if you also have played jazz as well as classical. Like there's just a bunch of really interesting pieces to keeping an open mind in all of these pathways starting young. So I think we're both biased to music. So sorry for all the music analogies throughout, but that this applies across the arts for sure. You've got 2 initiatives that I wanna hear about, and we've sort of talked about I think we've cited some of the data from one of them already, which is the Data Science for Social Good program, which you helped lead with, I think, North Florida University or yeah?
Yeah, so we work very closely with University of North Florida's Data Science for Social Good program. So it's a 12-week entrepreneurship program for data scientists. It's fantastic.
Love it.
There are 2 professors who are lead professors of the program, and they recruit students all over the nation, and they are then selected into this summer internship. And together with the professors and the interns, we look at solving a wicked problem. And a wicked problem in my case is how, how do we analyze all of this data, right?
Yeah.
So we started a lead research, which stands for Landscape of Education and the Arts in Duval. And so it's a survey that we administer to principals every
Mm,
year. And we collect questions such as actually answers that are like, how many minutes of arts instructions do you offer to your students? What types of fundings are available? Outside of school, your regular budget, how much money do you have to work with? And so there were some funding questions, what programs they would like to see, like what would they like to have, what is their community makeup? And after getting all that data, we then merge with Department of State data and to look at student academic
mm,
outcomes. And what we found was that schools, especially those in the urban core, by just having arts field trips or after school arts programs, it boosts students' academic learning in language arts, math, and science. It's like ding, 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 everything that we've been saying this entire time. It's put together in a chart, in a plot chart, and it allows us to advocate for more resources
mm.
for students. So that was the beginning of something that really allowed our projects to blossom and bringing thousands of kids onto multiple field trips and just learning more about our city.
Amazing. And then you have another one called Arts in Schools Certification System. So we think a lot about credentialing and like badging and all these things. So I'm just curious to know a little bit more about what that is, what that's done for your community.
It also came out as part of the LEAD survey.
Oh, great.
So, yes, it's we were able to advocate for field trips, arts integrated field trips, and students were able to go and visit multiple cultural institutions in town. But part of what came out of that survey is that we designed a rubric to basically provide a roadmap for principals to see, okay, if you only have this amount of resource, how do I get to the next level? How do I partner more with communities? And what can I do to engage our families, our parents, our school administrators? How do we have the arts as one of the core subject in our school. And what can we do as a school to make that happen?
Hmm.
So, using that, we designed a rubric, and there are 4 levels for the schools to achieve. And ultimately, last year we launched the Principal of the Art Award to highlight the principal who truly is. It's oftentimes principals are the unsung heroes.
Hmm.
And so we want to, as a community, highlight the principals who have gave a lot of support financially through different mechanisms, through booster clubs or through community partnerships to elevate the arts and to link arms with all those who are willing to support and highlight the arts in their school. So that was another program we launched through the lead worked with UNF.
Got it. Okay. Super helpful. Thank you. I want to leave us today with two kind of final questions. So one of these is really like you're doing this advocacy work, you've been doing it for a while, you're collecting really valuable success stories, data, engagement metrics. If everything breaks our way, us being art passionate art people, what will this actually look like down the road? Do you envision like I guess is art still a set of courses? Is it like fully integrated? Is every class just like more artful? Are you thinking about yeah, I just would love to know what your kind of vision of the future is with respects to how arts should be in our education systems.
I think every student and every family and every school is all unique and different, and every student learns differently.
Totally.
So having arts programming that fits the needs of every individual child, I think that would be the ultimate goal for the future. Whether there would be a pathway for students who may want to perform in Carnegie Hall. So there are programs that would support students to do that. And for some students, they may just want to dip their toes and try theater for the first time. And that's okay. And I think the ultimate joy about all of this is the sense of excitement to learning and how arts can boost academic goals in games. And I think that is the ultimate key. I do want to share one little story.
Love it.
As part of CAP, we every year we allow students to perform on this stage, which is about 2,000 seats. And one day, the student excitedly got out of school, was talking to dad. Dad was on his phone and said, and the little boy said to his dad, "Dad, I'm going to perform at this theater." And dad was not paying any attention until the theater part. And the son goes, "Yes, I'm going to perform at a theater with 2,000 people inside." And the dad looked at the son, head to toe, back to that little face again, then said, "Damn." And I think that is the moment of joy
Yeah,
that can't be replicated, no matter any subject. That is a sense of pride. Imagine what dad is going to say tomorrow at work
totally.
or to his family. So that's the reason why we do what we do, is to have that creative spark and ignite that for every child.
I love it. Okay, so that's a really good like individual version of my last question, but I want to hear one that's a little bit more like systems level, big picture. What's giving you hope right now in this space? I think we've like at a larger picture, the movement of arts education. There's all kinds of challenges. They are emerging every day. But is there something in particular that you're seeing that you're like this is giving me hope in this space?
I think similar to the school choice movement, that there is a program for every child. I do see that in the future, there will be an arts program for every child that
Hmm.
meets the needs of every family. So that is, I do see hope in that.
Today we learned about a lot of different things about the arts, but I think my couple takeaways, one of them is just that the stories and the data exists. I think too often people kind of say, "Oh yeah, like your kid had a good time with the arts," but like there's no evidence. So organizations across the country are collecting this evidence. It exists. Go find it if you need it. So that's one of them. Two is this really radical personalization of the arts. It is a tool both for personalizing, and it is a tool that can just kind of meet people where they're at on their own arts pathway. So I think that that's another kind of key learning from this. And then the last one, just to return to something at the very top, but just this idea of the flow state. I think we are still sort of nascent, I think, in research on what that is, what can create that. But music, hiking, all kinds of things are really good ways to get into that state. And our educators across the country need to be figuring out ways to facilitate flow state more for students to help them learn, grow in powerful ways. So those are just a couple of things that I wanted to double click on. But Lucy, thank you so much for being here today. It was great to hear and learn from you.
Thank you so much for your time, Mason.